So we're just coming on now just to make sure that we're in all the right places. If you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, just give me a wave, but if you can let me know that you're hearing me, seeing me, wherever you are, whether you're LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, I'm just going to check to make sure we're appearing up. Let me know where you're from in the chat, because we are going live tonight on our event. Everybody got us there okay? Everybody see us? Everybody see us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. You're seeing us on Facebook, which is awesome. And yes, we're on live on LinkedIn. Description's a bit out of sync, but on LinkedIn. But we're here, so everybody can see us, which is brilliant. So hello, Anna from Romania. Hi, the Sales and Marketing Partnership. Hi, Dan. Hi, Sabine. Hi, Robert. Oh, Bob Ayres here. Hi, Catherine Adams. Hi. Yeah, everybody can see us okay. We'll just update the descriptions on the session because it's a little bit weird. Literally 15 minutes before we went live, excuse me, 15 minutes before, we got a notification that our broadcast service was experiencing an outage and we may not get live, but it seems we're here. So yeah, we'll just let everybody join in, get here okay, and then we'll kickstart. So there's about 80, 90 people watching us on YouTube, and we've got a couple of hundred on LinkedIn, I think, and Facebook, all different places. Hi, John from Exeter, just down the road. Hi, Danielle. Hi, Craig. Dorset. Good. Everybody can see us okay. So just let me explain the format of tonight. It's a training session, so there's not like this sneaky upsell in this session. That's not how we do it. A up from Lancashire. A up from Lancashire. I'm a northerner, so my brevity tonight might be a bit brutal. The way we run these sessions is it's a training session. You can ask questions in whatever chat, wherever you are. They come through and we will answer them as we go. I've done a poll today on my LinkedIn to try and understand what are the key challenges people have with Sales Navigator, and we'll make sure we tick them off tonight. Hello, Henry. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Rex. So lots of people here. So we're going to get started. So just whilst we're waiting for everybody to join, just so you know who we are, Maverrik, we're a training and consulting company. We are one of the biggest social selling training companies, probably in Europe, if not the world. We focus predominantly, 99% of our business is training or helping companies implement social selling, both on LinkedIn, Facebook, all these different places, and use email as well to sell. And we've got a mission as a business to help 1 million businesses grow, whether there are customers or not. So that's our mission. It doesn't matter if you're a customer or not tonight. This is free. And all we say is if you get value from it, do the thumbs up, the likes, the comments, the subscribes, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, just whilst we're still waiting for a few people to join. Hi, Steve McGough. Hi, Catherine Adams. Hi, James Lappin. And some of these names are familiar. Steve Kazan, sunny San Francisco, Steve. I wish I was there because it's feeling pretty cold in the UK for May. So this is me, Dean Seddon, founder of Maverrik. You can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to come find me. If you've got any questions from tonight, you think of something afterwards and you go, I wish I'd have asked that question, just DM me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, absolutely fine, and ask your question. It may take a little while to get back to you because I get a lot of DMs, but I will get back to you and give you an answer. So absolutely fine. And in the chat, wherever you're watching, on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, put your comments in there. They all come into one place and we'll see you. Okay, so this is the poll I put up last night. Maybe we can put this big screen so you can see it. So I put this poll out twice to try and get the results, and the results were pretty similar. What's the biggest struggle you have with Sales Navigator? Now, I see a lot of people saying Sales Navigator is so expensive, and I honestly, I don't mean this in the way it sounds. Maybe I do. I don't mean this in the way it sounds, but some people say Sales Navigator is so expensive. It's not. It really isn't. Sales Navigator is actually relatively cheap in the sense of the power it puts at your fingertips. But as this points out, as this survey shows us, a lot of people really struggle to get it to work for them. So some of them don't know how to find prospects. Some don't know what to do with a prospect. So getting meetings is a massive challenge for people. And then what do they do with InMails and messages? So we're going to go through all of these, and I'm going to give you a basic foundation of Sales Navigator. Now, when we get to the end, I'm going to leave time at the end to do Q&A, and we'll do some live demos. So if you have a question that's about live demos, we can actually put that in the section at the end. So probably what I'll do is I'm going to tackle all of them. I'm going to leave getting meetings booked till the end because it's the most complicated way to explain it. So we'll go through how do I find prospects, what to do with prospects, InMails and messaging, and getting meetings booked. So I'll put all of this together tonight. We're going to go at a pace. So if you want the replay for tonight, I'll put our email, I'm going to try and do this, on screen here. Hey, look at that. On screen here, and email us if you want the replay, and we'll send you the replay. There's no cost, it's no catch, it's free. During tonight's session also, I may reference some worksheets or documents, and again, you can get them by emailing there. Maverrik team, all our coaches and social selling coaches, I might, if I get carried away, give everybody a free strategy session on Sales Nav, so prepare yourselves. Okay, so, bit of a glitch there. So just a couple of things on Sales Nav. There's a bit of a font issue on my PowerPoint. Sales Navigator, first things first, the basics. On Sales Nav, you've got the mobile app. Maybe you don't know this, but you've got the Sales Navigator mobile app, and you've got Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. Why would you get Sales Navigator versus free or premium? Well, number one, free is extremely limited. So free, you can't search for people very accurately. You can't track people. You can't engage with people in a strategic way. It's very hit and miss. Premium on LinkedIn is basically a better version of the free. To be honest with you, there's not a lot of value in premium. Sales Navigator has all the premium bits, but then this massive sales tool and marketing tool, actually, because you can target people more accurately with it. And you've got unlimited amounts of features. So we're going to go through some of those features. I'll show you the features, how to put them together, and then we'll go through the survey questions as well. So first things first, if you've not got Sales Navigator, it's about, depending in the UK, it's about, if you're VAT registered, it's about 50 odd quid, 59 quid a month. And premium is about 49.99 a month. So there's 10 quid difference between premium and Sales Navigator. Now, when you get into Sales Navigator, it feels like a mammoth expanse of stuff. And if you go nuts with it, you can actually clog it up to the point where you can't make any sense of what you're doing. So first things first, on my screen here, you can see there's some Sales Navigator screen, and it's highlighted green and red. So you have two main ways of doing things. The first thing you've got is searches, and the second thing you've got is lists. So a search is about finding people or companies under a criteria, and a list is about finding people and tracking individual people. So for an example, if you wanted training companies, you could search and find Maverrik, but if you wanted Maverrik to be your customer, you would save Maverrik in a list, and that means you track the specific company. If you wanted CEOs of training companies in Plymouth, I would come up in your search. But if you then wanted to sell to me or build a relationship with me, you'd have to save me as a lead in a list, and then I become tracked. Now, I'll talk about how the tracking works, but the simple way of looking at it, on screen, you've got greens and reds. Reds are searches, broad criteria, and leads or lists are very specific people or companies that you can track. So how do we find prospects? So this is where it gets really, really important. Yeah, you can search for people, you can create lists, but you need to have a plan of how you're going to help them and how you're going to do business with them. So you need to reverse engineer who you want to reach and what you're going to do with them, and then go looking for the people who fit. So maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll actually go to Sales Navigator to show you this, because it's a little bit easier to do. So just bear with me and I'll flick to Sales Nav. So hopefully you can see my LinkedIn on your screens now. If you want to make it big, Jack, that's cool. So when I'm searching for people, you've got the search feature here. So at the top here, you've got save searches and all filters. You see all filters here? And you can search for leads, people, and companies or accounts. So let's say, for an example, I was looking for companies in London, and I've got two different types of London. I've got London specifically and the London area, which is just Greater London, basically. So as it shows me here, there's 1 million companies in that area, but maybe I want the tech sector. So I can go, well, I want the tech sector in London. 38,000 companies now in information technology and services. But how big are they? Now, often people will talk to me when they're talking about coming to LinkedIn and say, in terms of, this is how big the company is in terms of revenue. LinkedIn's annual revenue figures aren't that accurate. And so I always encourage people to think in terms of head count. So how many employees do they have? And when we get into here, the size of company, we've got the overall head count of the company. So you can see them here, different criteria, and you can select all or none. And you've got headcount growth. So are they a growing company? So have they grown by 25% or more in the last year? Oh, it might be 90 days actually. So 3,000 companies in London in the tech sector have grown by more than 25%. And then I could go, well, actually, I want companies bigger than 1 to 10. So I want anything above that. So I can have huge companies. So there's 1,000 companies on LinkedIn that have grown by more than 25%. And then I can look at, well, what technologies do they use? So I can filter by technologies that they may well use on their website and go, actually, how many of them are WordPress? How many use, I don't know whether it has Stripe. How many use Stripe? And it will show me, oh, there's only one that uses Stripe. So it's not the most, this bit's not the most relevant ones. But then I could also find how many of the companies am I already connected to somebody in, and there's 15 companies where I'm already connected. Now, in addition to these features, so if I pull this up now, so I can see here, I've got 1,000 companies that have grown, Go Cardless and all these people here, tons and different companies. Now, what can I do? This is a criteria. So let's say, for an example, Maverik's new sales target is Go Cardless. And actually, I've already saved them as a lead. So you can see here, I've saved Go Cardless as a lead. I'll just unsave them for a minute. So you can see I've got the save button here. So I've done a search and I can save this now into my 5. So that's my name of my target customers, my 5 target customers. So here I go Cardless. I've saved 5 of my this company into my list. So now I've got a list of companies that are growing, and I've decided that out of that list, I'm going to track and pursue Go Cardless, the direct debit people. We use them a lot. So Go Cardless, we'll take that off. I'll take my jacket off. It's a bit warm under these lights. It was cold this afternoon, and then later on it's got really warm. So Go Cardless is now my prospect. You can use any of these scenarios, and maybe some of you got some questions. Somebody said, I suppose the alternative to using Sales Navigator is to actually get inbound leads. Well, inbound and top of mind is always what you want to pursue, and we will look at how some of that works. We have a concept, and maybe you check it out, my post today, my big yellow post, my square yellow post, where I talk about content bias. Now, I don't want to cover that tonight, but content bias is a way whereby you can get your prospects into your world. So you can get them to see your content, and you can use content to do some of the selling. We'll look at it a little bit tonight, but we haven't got a lot of time to get through it. So Go Cardless is now in my list of accounts. So I've done a search, I've searched for accounts, companies, and I've gone to Go Cardless. What most people do, and I've saved Go Cardless into my 5 list. What most people do on LinkedIn is they actually search for leads. So they go onto the search filters here for leads, and they put London in. Now I'm just going to keep the London area in. I'm going to keep the IT in. And then let's say my title, so I want all the same kind of companies, but I'm looking for marketing people, say, or digital marketing. So I put in the keywords or the specific job titles. Just a bit of a tip on keyword job titles. If you put Global Director of Marketing, it will look for Global Director of Marketing. Now, every company has a different title structure, so it might be worth you doing a search for marketing and then looking through it and deciding who you want to chase up and who you want to track and engage with. So digital marketing and marketing is there. So I search for those, and there's 3,000 of these people. So here they are, 3,000 of them. And this, again, is a criteria. It's a search. And I can save this search and revisit it. So I can do Dean's Sales Nav Test. And I can save this search, and then I can say to LinkedIn, tell me daily when this criteria adds new people. So when this list gets new people, update me. And I'll save it. We've got some questions here. Mark, yes, you can filter years at the company. The only downside to that is if you're looking for an MD who's been an MD for 1 year, and then, but they've actually been in the company for 10 years, it kind of messes it up. So you can have years at the company and years in the current role. Also, just be aware, and this is where people who use automation get caught out, people can have multiple roles. And so somebody could be a full-time accountant at PwC, but also have a freelance business making candles. And you reach out to them as a small business owner, but they're actually a big corporate senior manager. And so it's very dangerous using automation, because what you can end up doing is reaching out to somebody with an automated tool, which is forbidden by LinkedIn, by the way, and say, oh, great, you're nice to see you're a small business owner at PwC. And it makes you look foolish. So you need to be really careful. And also, when you do use automation to try and reach out to people, it defeats the object of what you're trying to achieve. The end goal, I'm assuming by our survey, the end goal on Boolean, I'm going to come to Boolean searches in a minute. So the end goal you want is a conversation with a prospect. That's what you really want. And so sometimes what we do is we confuse ourselves into thinking that volume equals results. Volume only equals results when you're trying a very broad, vague strategy. The more volume you do, the more vague you have to be. And so I encourage you, absolutely encourage you, Sales Navigator will save you a lot of time by finding the people you exactly want. Neil, you can use Boolean, but it still throws up a lot of false positives and can leave you for hours struggling to make it work. So, right, so let's say I go to my account list now. So I've saved my 5 list here. So you see there in the account list. So remember, lists are specific companies I'm tracking. And in my list here, I've got my 5. So these are the companies that I want to do business with. There's 5 in here. Yeah. Lind, Reed, G4S, Serco and Capita. So you can see that I've got people here and I've got activity and notes. So when I do a note on this company, did account research, and then I can put 25th of the 5th, 21, and done. It will save the last action there. And then when I add another note, found prospects 25, 5, 21. And now I'm on a corporate account. If you've got more than 8 users in your company, you can get a corporate account where you can share intel between you all and notes so that you don't prospect the same people. But as you can see here now, when I go in here, I've got a note history on this account, on this company. And I can tick this box here, go to the top here and actions and go search for leads. And it will now show me the leads from my list. Oh, I've done the whole list here, but you can see I can find the whole list and then I can go, okay, I want marketing and I want them in the United Kingdom. So let's see where they are. So there's 210 results. LinkedIn will show us 25 on Sales Navigator per page. And I can select all the ones on the page. I'm just doing this for speed to show you. And I can save to list and save these to new list, which is my 5 prospects. So I've got a list of prospects. I've got a list of accounts. I've then turned that list of accounts into a search for prospects. And now I'm turning that search for prospects into a list of prospects. So I'll create and save. Done. And so if I go into my lead list now, you'll see I've got my 5 prospects with 25 people in. And when I go into that list, I can see all the activity that's gone on. I've no activity because I've just made them. And there we go. So you can see all of them. So now you go, well, what the hell do I do with them now? So I know who I want to reach. I know what I want to do. How the hell do I do it? Now, this is where you need to have a real strategy in place, because there's some people who are very active on LinkedIn, posting and engaging with things. There's some people who are just engaging with things and not posting very often. And there's people who don't do anything. And so you need to have a strategy for each. Now, I'm going to talk about one of the easiest strategies you can do, but there are more sophisticated strategies for people who are less active. So I can't cover them all tonight, but I'll cover one. So here we go. So I've got my 25. So what do I do now? So you would do the same process. Look at the companies that you want to identify, get a healthy number, then save those companies into an account list. From there, we will search for leads in those companies, create a search of the prospects from the list, the account list, and then we will turn that into a lead list. Now, once we turn people into a lead and put them on a list, LinkedIn now says, okay, you want to do business with these people. I'm going to alert you to their activity. I'm going to show you their activity so that you can go out and do your work to sell and reach out to them and build relationships. So you need a healthy list, because some people will be very active, some people will be less active, and some people will be dormant. They're lurkers. Often people say, there's a lot of lurkers on LinkedIn, and there are a lot of lurkers on LinkedIn. They're people who are watching lots of stuff but not doing lots of stuff. So it's worthwhile posting content, because, as I said in the content bias post, which you can look at on my LinkedIn feed, content bias is where you can design your content to get in front of particular companies and particular people. And it's a very complex way of doing it, but once you get into it, you can actually get to a place where you can see that your target companies and prospects are seeing your posts on a regular basis. So that's how you educate people. Content on LinkedIn is how you educate people and build some of those touch points that help you go from complete stranger to actually you're somebody who's trusted, respected, and visible. Remember, we might not see it this way, but being in somebody's feed and being seen on a regular basis has a huge impact on your credibility and on your reputation with your prospects than if you're a complete stranger. So I've created my account list. Let's see if we've got any questions before Rachel, so whereas when you do a Boolean search on normal LinkedIn, it searches just for that phrase anywhere on the profile. So Rachel, if I was the managing director of a company, well, I used to be the managing director of Maverrik, I became the CEO. So if you search managing director, you'd probably get me. But actually I'm the CEO, and Terry's the managing director on normal LinkedIn. On Sales Navigator, you can search for very specific titles. You could search for Chief Revenue Officer, and that has to be in their job title. Yes, so Mark, absolutely right. It would look in anywhere on the profile, not just the headline, anywhere on the profile. So if my about section said I help managing directors or a managing director, I would show up. Even if I was a window cleaner, I would show up. So it's really important that Sales Navigator helps you find people more accurately and quickly. So why am I saving all these people as leads? Why am I saving all these companies as in lists? Why am I saving them in lists? What's the point? Well, when we go to the home feed on Sales Navigator, and I know Teresa Quinn's here somewhere, so she's shown up at the top here because she's viewed my profile. But when I go to my home feed, as you can see, I'm a Sales Nav expert. It's not hard to get one, to be honest with you, but they think, who knows why. So when you go onto this home feed, you see all, and it's all clutter. It's all clutter. But when I go into leads here, I can actually see what all of my leads have been doing, and I can filter by what my leads have been producing in terms of content. So I can see here all the way down the leads I've saved, what they're posting, and I can go, oh, here's Doug. I know Doug. So I can go on to Doug and I can see his post that he put up 12 hours ago, and I can engage with Doug. Why would I want to engage with Doug? Why would I bother engaging with a prospect on their content? Anybody want to answer that question? Anybody want to answer the question of why? Yes, Vinay, I'll show you the notes section in a second. Why would I want to engage with my prospects' content? Sam, I think anybody, one of the programs we teach companies and sales teams out is how to implement this and make it work, because it actually makes your life a lot more, it makes sales more efficient. So the reason I would engage with Doug, the reason exactly, Sonia, exactly, bang on. They become familiar with you, you break the ice, you can interact with them and have conversation. And so suddenly you're not a salesperson, you're a contact, a friend, a familiar face. Relationships and conversations, Daryl said it bang on. You're building credibility, but also they're going to come back and maybe reply, or they're going to like your comment, or they're going to view your profile. You're opening doors and building relationships. Now, the bigger your account that you're targeting, the more senior the position, the more activity you should do like this. Now, Cento B has kind of hinted at something. Yes, if you engage with them and they engage with you, you get yourself into a content bias. So if I just pull up my presentation again, so this is a real simple, this is like the foundational model we built 3 years ago to help people social sell. It's a very, very simple model. It won't work for everybody. You'll have to adapt it. So now we spend time with companies writing their social selling process and teaching them how to do it. Earn trust and earn the conversation. You look at what happens on LinkedIn, and what most people are doing is they're chewing out, hey, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? In all various forms, but effectively it's like, do you want to buy this? And nobody's interested. You've got to pique the curiosity of your prospects. You've got to pique their curiosity. They're not interested in the awards you've won. They're not interested in all of these little gadgets. What they're interested in, I've got immediate priorities. How do you fit with my immediate priorities? And they will weigh you up against their existing workload. They will weigh you up against all the other things going on in their world. So everything you've got to say, you've got to make it powerful. How do you make it powerful? By understanding the current challenges they're facing and how you match your product or service to that space. So look at your product, look at your service and go, what are the challenges they've already got? What's going on in their world that we know this can fix? And then we don't say, hey, we can fix this problem. You ask them and talk about the problem. Yeah? Consultative selling 101. You get the client to talk more about their problem so you can tailor your conversation back with them. And so that's the key. That's also the key to unlocking messaging, by the way. If you look at what most people are doing and have a look at your own messages, do they look more like emails or do they look more like WhatsApp conversations? Because a conversation going well will look more like WhatsApp than it will look like email. So this is a very simple model that you can build a foundation on to engage and get reciprocative communication that leads to a conversation. So if you want the map of this, we've got a map we did a couple of years back. It's a flow chart. It's quite complicated, but once you get into it, you can go, I know what I'm doing. So if you want to get the process map, just email us and we'll send it to you. So here's the first couple of things. I'm going to go back to Sales Nav. Who do you want to create relationships with? So number one, when I go back here, so here's my list. I can engage with Doug here. But when I go back to my account lists and I go onto my 5, and I'll go onto Capita. They're a big company in the UK. So here we go. I go to Capita and I'm on their company page. I can add notes on the company page as well. Yeah, so all of these. But I can also build an account map where I can add my leads into my map to plan out how am I going to build the relationships. So there's generally 2 ways you use the account map. You do it by tiers in terms of seniority, or you do it by tiers in terms of activity. So who's the most active, who's the least active? Could one person who's less senior be the route in to a conversation? Maybe they can introduce it, or maybe they can pass the information on, or something like that to open the account. That's generally how you work the map. Now, what some people won't be aware of is when you go onto account lists, so everybody watching here, this is really important. Yeah, so Candice, yes, it's all about being in relationships. Hacks of Sales Navigator. I'll give you a hack right now. So here we go. So let's say you've got a list of companies and you've been to their websites and you collect their websites into a little spreadsheet. You can go in here and upload accounts from a CSV file, and you need a website URL and the account name, the name of the company, that's it. And then you can literally create a lead list. I don't know whether I can do this quickly. Maybe I can. So you put an account name in, and then a website URL. I don't know whether this will work. Yeah, there we go. And it will scan LinkedIn for you, find all those companies and map them out for you. And then you can flip that into a lead list really quickly. Very, very quickly. So just to recap, home is where you can keep your priority of who you need to engage with. Account lists are where you track people. That's important. Searches is where you find the criteria of people that you add to lists or companies. One more feature before we go into the messaging. So when we go into leads here, we can actually show and flick the tab to buyer interest. And every time a buyer shows interest in you, it flags it here. Yeah, does that make sense? It flags it here so you can see it. Now we come to some of the tricky bits and pieces. So here's the quick bits. So let's just go back to the beginning. How do I find prospects? Tick. What do I do with prospects? Save them as leads and engage with them at various stages in the process. I'll share with you my process. Just send us an email to there. So email and we'll send you the social selling process. It's a PDF workflow flow chart. And if at the end of this, what I'll do is I'll ask our coaches and say, look, if people need it, they can ring up or email and book a time. And it might only be 10, 15 minutes, so don't get too excited. But if you want to walk through the process and understand the process, our guys will jump on a call and explain it to you. So what do I do with process? Save them as leads, engage with them, what we call the 7 steps. Get meetings, books, and InMails and messages. I'm going to deal with these 2 at the same time because effectively these 2 are inextricably linked. So you can't get a meeting booked without a 2-way conversation. Number 1. So write this down. Please, please, please write this down. No meeting will happen without a 2-way conversation. So all of your efforts up to messaging is to help and train, as if you're a prospect of mine, forgive me for the way I'm saying it, your only goal is to train your prospects that you are not a salesperson, you are a friend, so that they will give you the time of day. People buy from people they know, they like, they trust. So showing up, engaging with them, doing the work will actually gain you the trust. It will gain you the edge over a complete automated churn and burn person. It will give you the time of day. Now, I'm going to just quickly reference some different types of messaging you should be doing. So number 1, if you're just doing cold messaging straight off the back of connecting, you're not going to get a reply. The stat on that, by the way, is about 0.4 to 1% success. So for every 1,000 messages you send, you will get 1 sale. So quite quickly, especially with the connection limits, quite quickly, you can end up in a situation whereby you have burnt through your connections. LinkedIn also is blocking messages now, where if you send the same message repetitively, it sends a flag alert to the people you're sending the message to saying this might be harmful or spam. So if you're sending the same message, you're in for trouble. So here's where the magic of messaging really comes into play. You're doing the work, and we focused on the most active people tonight. There's strategies for the less active and the totally inactive. That again is very relational, very, very successful. So if you get this right and you do the work on the most active, which is what you should be focusing on as a priority on LinkedIn, the most active, you'll get somewhere between, and it depends what you put. If you put the sales drivel that most people do, you probably get, I was going to swear then, not a lot. But if you really focus on building that relationship and testing for interaction before you actually drop the message, you can actually increase it to where we have a 16% sale rate from LinkedIn messages. So that's not 16% reply rate. It's a 16% from a message to a sale, 16%. Now, how many of those sales can you do in a day? Because I know that's going to come from many salespeople here. Well, it really, in the first couple of weeks, it's quite tough because you've got to build up all those relationships that you may not have done before. So you've got to build them all up, and then you reap the rewards quite quickly off the back of that because you've done the work to build the relationship. So the replies go up, so the meetings go up, so your conversion rate goes up. And so when you're looking at messaging, InMail is great, but the problem is LinkedIn tells you it's an InMail, so it's hit and miss whether people engage with it. The best kind of messaging, in all honesty, is the straightforward, you're connected to somebody and message. So you use the 7 steps to engage with people and interact with people so that they'll accept your connection request, and so you'll end up in an engaged relationship with them. Now, in theory, because of LinkedIn's limits now on 100 connections per week, you need to be very wise about how you develop those relationships, because if you've got a pipeline to fill, and this is a new way of approaching LinkedIn for you, you'll actually have to really spend a couple of weeks just building it up till you've got enough of the right people connected to do business. Simone, so when I'm sending a message, I make my message very, very personal, and I probably don't even sign it off because I'm making it personal. I make it very clear this is not automated. I'm a lover of voice and video messages, particularly with bigger companies. Voice and video messages I love very, very much. Voice and video are good because they create a lot of curiosity. So I would encourage you to do that. Who else has got some questions? Simone, I will wish happy birthday and congratulations to anybody I want to build a relationship with. It's probably the easiest way to create a conversation as well. So I would encourage you to think about using messages in a very personalized way. So even down to talking about things on their profile, talking about things that they've seen, talking about news on the company, and then being straightforward and saying very relaxed, and it takes some practice to do this in a relaxed format. So I'd encourage you, if you've got some people on your LinkedIn account that they're not really interesting enough for you anymore, one of the biggest hurdles with doing other forms of messaging other than text is the fear factor and the feeling of awkwardness. So I encourage you, what to do is practice on people who don't matter from a sales point of view. Perhaps you've got old colleagues and you just send them a few messages to just get over the fear factor. I would highly encourage you to go and do that. Katie, if you're saying, oh, thanks, you're sending the wrong message. This is a big thing that we see on LinkedIn a lot. Sorry, Katie, to pick on you. Kimonos, I'll come to you in a second. Katie, always think about this. Look at your content, look at your messaging and go, have I set this up for a reply? So have I asked a question? Have I engaged with them in a way that gets a reply? What are you doing to make it a bit different than the standard answers? If you ask a question, you're more likely to get a reply. Yeah? So Katie, if they're saying, oh, thanks, right? You need to go happy birthday and maybe make a jovial remark about, I'm not going to ask which one it is, but if you got anything special planned or you're managing to get out for your birthday, see family, whatever it is. Daniel Marcus. So here's the thing with the voice and video messages. Success is very high, massively high, like 50%. The reason, so Daniel's asked a good question, but he's also fell into the same thought process that lots of people do with LinkedIn. Think about what's happened all the way before what we've done. We've not just sent a connection and then sent a voice message. What have we done with most of these people? What have we done beforehand? Think about what we've done. We've engaged and interacted with them on their content. Because of that, they'll see some of our content. And so you're sending a message, and to you, it's a very deliberate process. It's a very engineered process. But to them, they know you. They know who you are because they've had conversations with you about your comments on their posts. They've seen you comment. They've engaged with you. you've built the trust. So sometimes what happens is our LinkedIn world, what we see and what the world sees, or what the prospect sees, is totally disconnected. The only time when our world and the prospect's world is aligned is when we're doing exactly what we shouldn't be doing, sending lots of messages to people we don't know. So we've created a relationship. So Daniel's just asked about how do you do messages. I'm going to do something as an experiment here, and hopefully this will work. So, Jack, don't have a panic attack as I do this on screen. So, when I decide to send a message, and I'm just going to send one to Terry Heath. I know you can't see me on screen, but I'll appear really big in your face in a minute. So, this is Terry. So, in here, don't know whether you can see this, but just here, sorry, can you just zoom in for me? Zoom in for there, Jack. No, keep it there because I've got a message there. Right, can you see here? Can you focus on that? No? Right, go look at your phones now. Go look at your phones right now and go look at me and try and send me a message. And at the top here, when you're on normal LinkedIn, you have the option, "Hi Terry, it's Dean. I'm just sending you a voice message on LinkedIn." And I can send a voice message. So you can see there, just about, I've sent a voice message. And then on the other side, I can actually send, let me just flip the camera around. So now I've just sent him a quick video. Well, I didn't send him a video, I sent him a quick picture. But you can see how quickly and easily you can interact with people. Now, Sales Navigator doesn't have the audio and video feature, but it does do it. So Lars has asked the question, how many demos can a rep book in a team per week? So Lars, what we talk about is a 90-day window. So if you've got a really engaged sales rep, if you're really engaged, you can get up to speed on LinkedIn in about 2 weeks. Yeah, in terms of getting your pattern, your process, all of that right and solid. And it takes about 90 days to get this habit in place. But for me, yeah, so I've been down this road for 5 years. I can pull in about 11 meetings a day on LinkedIn by interacting with prospects, because I spend a good deal of time interacting with my prospects. And so I'm using very heavy-handed personal outreach based off the back of interacting with my prospects. Now, 11 meetings a day sounds a lot when you get going, but it actually gets easier and easier and easier. And one of the people on our accelerator program, they went through this whole process with us for 90 days where we're like, do this, change this, do this, change this, do this, change this. And generally speaking, the first 4 weeks, it feels overwhelming. Because what I try and do is go, I don't want to pace it gently. I'm a bit of an impatient kind of person. I don't want to pace it because I want to see the rewards fairly quickly. So I cram as much initial activity in the first 4 weeks so that my pipeline is getting bigger and bigger week by week by week by week. Candice, yeah, 90 days is tough, but you can do it as long as you front load a lot of the initial work. And some people, I'll be straight with you, if you're used to cold calling, yeah, so you're used to dialing 100 numbers a day, this activity will feel massively unproductive. It will feel like a waste of time. And the reason is because there's something oddly fulfilling about picking up the phone, ringing somebody, getting no answer. There's something oddly fulfilling about ringing people and getting no's and not interested or callbacks. It feels fulfilling. But for some reason, doing this, it doesn't feel fulfilling until you've got the meeting. It doesn't feel it. Somebody says, I love cold calling. I'm not sure people who receive it love it though. But I suppose that's true of lots of things. So it's really important that you understand and reverse engineer who needs you. What's the pain points that they've got? Because that's what you need to engage with. You need to understand what would be their motivation for changing what they're doing right now. Why would they be motivated to change? And between the motivation to change comes from discomfort. What's causing them discomfort in their business that they want to change? The speed of doing this feels very slow. Well, yes, it is. But let me put it in context. If you were to get a job cold calling, it would take you 2 weeks to get the hang of it. Minimum 2 weeks to get the hang of it. And by that 2 weeks, within the first 90 days, you're making sales, solid sales. You're hitting numbers. But it takes you a couple of weeks just to get into the swing of a routine. We're not talking about how to get the results here. We're talking about you being able to get into a routine. That's the hardest bit. Honestly, that is the hardest bit. You can learn everything else. You can do everything else by practice. The hard bit is you locking your time away to go and do this. You committing the time to actually do it. You getting into the routine of following people up. That's the most important thing you do. Keith, yes, if you do cold calling right, you can have a positive impression. The problem is a lot of people do it wrong. Just like LinkedIn, a lot of people do it wrong or the wrong way, and so it puts people off doing it. It's all about relationships at the end of the day. So in 2 weeks and you're probably making headway, but it's about your commitment to making it work. That's the biggest challenge you have, not the technology, not the messaging, not any of that. It's you sticking to and following a process. And I've put thousands of people through this training, thousands. And I've put people through intensive programs where they do it in 0 to 90 days. And pretty much 80% of them can be revenue positive and be hitting their pipeline targets before the end of the 90 days. Paolo, what do you think of the combination between social selling and inbound? I practice it. So my whole aim is with these webinars is I have a theory. I have a theory that if we give value to as many people as possible, some people will come back for help. And so this is an outbound activity to generate inbound in the future. And one thing that the most desired method of generating new business is you being the first person to call when people need something. That you can't beat that. You cannot beat it. It's the top of the tree. But what I've found is if you use LinkedIn well, you can do the sales and prospecting part with Sales Nav, or all social media actually. You can do it without ads. You can actually use the content side of this, so this is content, to actually leverage this. But the payoff of this, the content and the content marketing, is much longer. It's more profound impact, and there's been studies done on it. There's more profound impact in terms of sales from investing in content and inbound than there is in doing outbound. But if you hybrid them together, so we call it a digital selling hybrid, you hybrid them together, you can be prospecting for now and building trust, knowledge and awareness in the future. So somebody said here, their solutions and services they sold had long sales cycles. So what I'd say to there is if you've got a long sales cycle, the first one is on social media, particularly LinkedIn, 72 hours to, basically a week long. So 3 to 7 days is the forgetful zone. People can forget you in 3 to 7 days. So if you're looking at engaging with a prospect, the cycle of engagement has to be relatively fast-paced. You have to engage and interact on a regular basis. Otherwise, you drop out the algorithm with the person, and also they forget who you are, or you drop down. So I'm not saying you chase them on updates and message them all the time. I'm saying make an effort to keep a touch point with them at least every 3 to 7 days, even if it's just a like. LinkedIn InMail isn't dead. It just has to be very creatively used. So everything is good. Email, Facebook, the works is good. But because it's so busy now, you have to be more personalized, very much more personalized, very targeted. And you absolutely need to be consistent. Keith, yes, some people mix LinkedIn with email. It works, it's effective. We do it sometimes with people. But just coming back to somebody's point about their sales cycle is too long. One of the things that I told some companies to do to actually accelerate their sales process is to actually do what's known in the consulting world as a land and expand. It's also known in the technology world, the IT world, as a land and expand. It's where you create a gateway product or service that can help the customer, but gets you into a closer relationship with the customer where you can have an honest conversation about how you can help, or you can land a piece of work and expand outwards. So yeah, Rex, you have to cut through the BS. So a land and expand is a method of creating a product or service that is a gateway to the real sale you want to achieve, or the real product you want to sell. And some businesses do very, very well on land and expand products, land and expand services. So Rachel Cox, once you're connected, how do you take it to meeting? What's the time frame roughly? Is the process map you referred to earlier? Yes, Rachel, it's about 2 weeks. With the most highly active people, it's about 2 weeks from start to finish to the meeting. And it's in the process map. But it is about doing the work and interacting and getting reciprocation before you send the message. Almost like your reciprocation is the signal you can ask them about the message. Now, will you get a 100% success rate? No, but you will get a success rate significantly higher than anything you can get by automated emails, automated messages, LinkedIn InMails, sponsored messages, all that kind of stuff. So it's about 7 to 10 days from start to finish with a prospect. Yes, Vinay, foot in the door service, foot in the door service. Any other questions from tonight's session? So I've offered you a replay. So if you want the replay, I didn't get through to all of this, so maybe I can, there's some other stuff we can talk about here, but I've run out of time. So if you want to have a conversation with our team, there's no sales pitch, by the way. So it's just, if you want to have a conversation with our team about some of the bits I've missed or how this applies to you in more detail, our emails, let me try and do it right. Our email's there. Look, how cool is this? I can get the finger in the right place. If you email us and say, look, I'd love 10, 15 minutes just to unpack this a little bit more, one of our team will jump on. There'll be no sales pitch. That's not what we're about. We'll show you, give you the process map. If you're struggling to figure out your how do you get a customer to pay attention to you because they, your pain points and value proposition, we've got some worksheets we can give you on that too. So if you want any of the details, I can't do it twice. No, there. But you can get all of that. So the email address is hi, H-I, at Maverrik, maverrik.co.uk. So if you want any of that stuff, just ping us an email and say, look, I just want to see this stuff. That'd be great. And we'll do that all the time. And otherwise, also, Lars, how many prospects do you interact with a day? So I look at it slightly differently. So I look at how many do I want in the long term. So I've got about 1,800 leads that I'm working on. 1,800. I've not saved them all, but I've got them in a spreadsheet. 1,800 leads. So that's what I'm doing. Yes, somebody said no sales pitch because you need to focus on building the relationship first. 110%. If you want to find me on LinkedIn and ask me some more questions, I'll put my details here so you can see it. So we'll put that big on screen. And the only thing I'm going to ask, the only thing I want from you, the only call to action I've got from you that benefits, is like for us, is would you, wherever you're watching, if you're on Facebook, give us a follow, YouTube, a like and a subscribe, and LinkedIn, a follow on the company page. That would be awesome. And again, as I say, I didn't get through everything tonight. Sorry. When you plan something and you think, I'll get through all of that. I didn't get through everything, but if you want it, it might only be 10, 15 minutes because there's like 300 people watching on all the channels here. But if you get in and say, yeah, I'd love a 15-minute, we'll do the 15-minute. So with that said, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go have a minute now and a drink because I'm parched. And next week, we're doing another session. We have got a session on the 16th of June called Inbound Leads. It's worth checking that out. And next week, we've got a Selling on LinkedIn, which is more about how you use content and positioning for content. So go have a look at that too. But as I say, if you want the session, great. If you don't. If you want any of the resources, drop us the email. But do me a favor, do the like, subscribe, follow thing. That'd be awesome. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on LinkedIn.